Hello, everyone. So I'm here again for a tarot and tea, and this one's going to be for Gemini season. So we'll be exploring this archetype, especially through the lens of the lovers in tarot. And today I invited Jennifer here to speak with me about Gemini and the lovers. She is actually an astrologer. And actually, I'll let you do your introduction, Jennifer.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited as I am a Gemini and Gemini season is like super, exciting to be here. I'm a mother, I'm an astrologer. I've been studying evolutionary astrology for the past like 10 years, and I'm really into evolution. So like the evolution of humans and what are we here to do and helping people, I guess, bringing clarity into their life and like what they should do from their chart, from their blueprint of their soul and what they're here to do. And I kind of like helping them bringing clarity to just feel like they're living their purpose. They're living their birth charts. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do, bringing clarity.
Oh, yes. And actually, I remember you reading my chart a while back, and it was really insightful. And you said something about feeling dance in my like vortex. And it was right before
Uh-huh.
I got like this interest in starting a dances medicine training. And I jumped in, and it was just been like,
I remember, yes, I remember that. That was like a big like aha moment, no? Like even I felt like wow, like we're on something right there.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah. It's
happy
been
that
weaved into so much of my work now. And yeah, I just am deeply grateful for that. So thank you so
that's
much.
amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Jennifer, your sun is in Gemini, right?
Yeah.
Do you have other placements in Gemini?
No, actually, my son's a Gemini in the ninth house, so I do have the influence of the Sagittarius, which is like the polarity. So it's a little bit like my birth chart is all about duality, and Gemini is also about duality. So, like, I feel it pretty intense.
All right.
Yeah,
Um, so for myself, I have my moon in Gemini, so it touches me right in the heart space.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so I'm excited to talk about this energy. So I like to zoom out first before zooming in, and putting us in the context of the seasonal wheel as well. And so
Mhm.
Gemini is the last astrological sign of spring here in the Northern Hemisphere. So yeah, I've always like heard it described as and feel it as kind of like that butterfly energy that likes to just kind of go around and test all the little pollen and because Gemini really is like such a curious sign and there is that kind of lightheartedness to it. I feel like there is like this kind of childlike curiosity quality to it. So yeah, the butterfly energy really speaks to me when it comes to Gemini energy. How do you feel that?
Yeah, like I mean, you just described it like perfectly. It's the first air sign of the zodiac, also like the first human because we have like the Aries and we have the bull, and then it's like the two humans. So it's like, okay, let's explore, let's do this, let's do that. And it does have this like playful and curiosity. It's like my husband even sometimes he's like, why do you want to know that? I'm just like, it's just me, I'm curious. It's like you cannot stop yourself to ask questions. Literally, you want to go to the bottom of things, and then you just get the information. It's like okay, you move on to the next thing. It's like it's exhausting, sometimes overwhelming, but I couldn't live another way, you know. So yeah, like you just go with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I relate so much. There's like this quality of Gemini. Well, I mean, in popular astrology, it's kind of like the jack of all trades, or like that kind of energy where
Yeah,
it's like just
yeah,
having your fingers in every little pot and just like
yeah.
really liking to get different perspectives too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I resonate with different perspective because like my thing is really like there's so many truths. And my husband is Sagittarius, so we know that Sagittarius is like the truth. It's also like the higher octave. kind of in a way of Gemini rules the left brain, Gemini rules the right brain. And then I'm like, there's this truth. And my husband's like, no, it's this truth. And I'm like, no, you got it all wrong. So it's kind of like the conflict of like finding the way. It's a good reminder of like, yeah, like kind of finding the middle way. But for me, it's like everything exists, like everything is true. So yeah, it's just like it's fascinating to see how Gemini brain literally works. It's so open.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very open and yeah, creative too, very, very
Yeah.
creative. Like one of the cards, as we said, that's related to Gemini in the tarot. Well, the one that's directly connected to it is the Lovers. But Gemini is also ruled by Mercury, and so it's related to the Magician in tarot as well. And Mercury is so much about like the quickness in the mind. It's very like communication. Yeah, it's just very, very
Yeah.
quick, very witty, very eager to have conversation. Like Gemini is known as quite the conversationalist, and there's even a lot of travel in there. And then right now you're coming to us from Mexico.
Yeah. Well, I actually live in Mexico, but I am traveling right now. We've been like I'm from the coast of Oaxaca. Well, I'm not from, but our house is in the coast of Oaxaca in Mazunte, and we've been traveling all the way up to San Miguel, which is more like in the upper part. We've been to Hot Spring. It was just like the tourist season was all about like connecting to Mother Earth, and we just like it was beautiful. Now we're on our way back. We're in Oaxaca, so I am like it's a short travel, which is Gemini also. But yeah, like now I'm excited. Like Taurus was like slowing down, connecting to your body, and I'm like, okay, let's move the energy. It's like spring, like you said in the
Mhm.
beginning.
So yeah, like Taurus season was very much, getting in the senses, getting in the pleasure, getting in that
Mm-hmm.
very Mother Earthy vibe, right? And seeing like reconnecting to the soil and the earth now that the in the Northern Hemisphere the winter has thawed fully. And so what would you say would be the I guess like the medicine of a Gemini at the end of the spring season?
Oof, I would say like Taurus is a little boring. I've learned to love Taurus season because there's like a lack of kind of things getting done. And obviously like we get at this point that Gemini is the doer. It's like let's move the energy. So for me it's all about like reminding myself to stay grounded. Like I kind of like have to force myself to connect and slow down and to ground my feet literally in the earth. And I think all along Gemini, it's like a reminder. Don't forget because Gemini has like the two little bars and the two bars like that. So it's like the connection to the sky, the connection to the earth, and it's about always reminding myself. Like if you want to connect with the air, you need to be grounded because if there's too much air, I just lose myself. I lose myself. I lose my way, and it's not healthy. So I would say don't forget your feet. Don't forget your feet. Don't forget to be grounded. Breathe. Gemini needs to have a practice of breathing. It's like otherwise, I think it can develop problems with like the nervous system. It's like how your nervous system feels today. Like, did you take care of it? It's if not, it's like it just goes out of balance really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I've always kind of looked to Gemini seasons as being one of those seasons where I have to remember the medicine of Taurus season in it,
yeah,
of just
exactly.
like slowing down. And
Hmm.
it's funny because like it's such a social sign, and I find that there's always like so much going on in Gemini season. Like there's just so like all the flowers are like, blooming. It's just
Yeah,
there's so many invitations, there's so much life there. It's like yeah, there's just so many invitations, right? And then I find myself as like a Gemini moon just being like, oh, like it's very tempting to like say yes to everything and to just, like
yeah,
so curious and just
yeah,
wanting. But it's like burn out if I do
yeah,
that. So
yeah.
I
Thanks.
really gotta,
Yeah,
like I've learned over
thanks
the
God
years to settle
Cancer
down.
comes like after because Cancer is water and it like also like bring you back and you like Cancer kind of like like I don't know, you gain what you planted during Gemini season. So if you just went out and you said yes to everything, Cancer season is gonna like kind of like like it's gonna like bring it back, and like it's gonna teach you, like if you haven't done it in the Gemini season to like stop and kind of like use the Taurus medicine, Cancer is gonna like bring it to your face and be like, okay, now you're really exhausted. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, I love it. Sorry, I cut you off. That's a thing of Gemini that I need to work on.
It will happen. And there will be tangents and there will be all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I really feel like yeah, so Gemini wrapping up the spring season. It really feels like this kind of not a récolte, more like sorry, I had a French word there. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like it's not the harvest really, but there is something about integration I find in this sign. Like, so I really like talking about the aspects. I've been bringing that up a lot in these discussions just to put that in context as well. And so in the spring season, Aries is the cardinal sign, so it initiates the spring. And then Taurus is the fixed sign, so it maintains it. And then now we're in Gemini, and so this one is the mutable sign. So as a mutable sign, I find that like the big quality of that is a lot of integration, a lot of like kind of taking a step back and seeing how everything connects and everything works together, you know? And so what do you have to say about that aspect?
Yeah. Well, I like that because it's true. Like the cardinal sign is the initiator, and then the mutual sign is kind of like the destroyer. It's like has like the Shiva energy kind of thing. So it's like, can we reflect on what just happened in those 2 past months, and now like we're starting like a new season with the Cancer season, which is under cardinal sign. So it's like what did we gain? What did we learn? Can we just sit with that, and like what are we also ready to let go in order to like open more space for other thing? And I think Gemini is not too bad at doing that, because Gemini loves to start things and not quite finish them. So it's like easy to let go. It's like, okay, next thing, next thing. So yeah, like I relate to that. Like I'm ready. I'm ready for something new. I'm ready to open more space, but also like integrate. Take the time to integrate, which is like Gemini kind of like pass the information so quick. And I think this is a lesson. Like also everything is faded, right? So Gemini is like that for a reason. But I'm excited to just see for this season, like just sit and marinate with like what's the new information. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but in my mind it does.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. We're like, at the end of any season, we're always like closing
Mm-hmm.
out, ideally, the cycle and just getting the things that we want to keep with us. I
Mm-hmm.
guess it's like a good moment, like you said, for reflection. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Even though there's this kind of pull to like just taste everything and like it's pretty like external, I find too. It's very much
Mm-hmm.
like about connection, but like to not forget like the internal connection, to not forget
Yeah.
to um connect inside, like because yeah, we tend to get very overstimulated because I mean, Gemini season is very stimulating, and the mind is very stimulated as well. And so with that in mind, I feel like a really great medicine is to kind of not go into the excess of stimulation, to take those pause moments,
Mm-hmm.
so then we can reconnect with ourselves and then see yeah, where everything connects, and maybe what doesn't belong anymore. It's like also
Yeah.
Gemini, it's about those like stories, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of like storytelling in it. And I love that you mentioned Sagittarius. It's like it's so hard to like talk about the sign without its polar complementary
Yeah.
aspect to it. So in that context, Gemini is really about those like little everyday stories that we tell about ourselves, the ones that just come back all the time. And then Sagittarius would be really like, what's the big legend that we're like living right now? And so like connecting with that and taking that moment to like step back and be like, okay, like these are all the little stories that are going on. Which ones are really in alignment? What things am I engaged with that are still really in alignment? And then, like you said, what things are kind of like, I can let that go and create more space for what is to come.
Yeah. Yeah, I resonate with that. Like let go of, the small things that like take space, but it's not really useful. You can just let it go and focus on like the most important, the more rooted in yourself things, and that makes so much sense. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, next step. Let's go
Yeah.
in a little deeper into the juiciness of Gemini energy. Um, so, before we jump into the lovers, I'd love to hear for you what is like a center point, or kind of like what your experience with the Gemini energy is and what has brought you in terms of medicine. Because I'd really like to share with people, there's so much beauty in each sign. Like you said, there's like there's a use for everything. There's a use for all these energies, and there's a time and place, and it serves a really deep purpose, right? So what are the yeah, what is the medicine of this energy to you?
Um, oh, I love questions. I love everything about interviews and things that makes me think and connect with myself. Um, I would say when I was younger, I had a lot, I had a hard time making friends or making friendship that were more deep. So I had a lot of friends, like I had a lot of, but it was a lot like it was a shallow friendship. As soon as I would get deep with someone, or more intimate, something would break, something would not work. And I kind of got like reflecting over the years and growing up, it's like Gemini, like I said, have many truths. So maybe one day I tell you something, a story, and it's true. It's what's there, it's what's present. But the next day or a week after, the story kind of changes. And people don't get that. People don't follow that. So because it's a new truth. And then I say, like, this person talk a lot of shit. It's like this person is like not stable. This person like is hard to follow. Even my parents at some point, of course, my mom knew a little bit about my mom. No, my mom knew a lot about astrology, but it's kind of like it's a different was a different astrology she was studying back then. But my grandparents were like, this person maybe is bipolar. Like they even I remember they brought me to do a psychological test to see if I was, because I was like up and down and all over around, and they brought me to do a psychology test. I don't even know how to call it. And of course, the result was just like, no, this person just like loved the life and loved to do like many things, and like it was kind of like accurate but not accurate at the same time. And yeah, like, but it's just hurtful that people don't get you. Like, people don't get all your colors. And I always felt like the outcast, and I always felt like I'm too much for people. And so I kind of like how do you say that? Like retracted, kind of became like a loner. And that was like a really hard part, a really hard time in my life. But of course now studying my astrology, my chart, I get that I was normal. I was just being me. So I'm kind of like accepting. And now when I meet someone, I say like, yes, I'm too much sometimes. Yes, I talk too much. I need to learn how to listen. And I think it's really about accepting yourself and presenting you to the person you love. Like, hey, I'm like this. Can you accept me? If I'm too much, just tell me and we'll find a middle way. Like I'll shut up and I'll listen to you. So yeah, it brought me this interesting teaching, I would say. But it was a hard time. It was something that I needed to bring light and bring clarity and work on. Yeah.
Hmm. Oh, I really love that. Like bringing that awareness and also that
Hmm.
acceptance of like,
Hmm.
okay, like I know I can be like this. I love me. And also I love you. And so,
Hmm.
we can have a conversation about it.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. Let's, heart to heart, and a lot of compassion. A lot of compassion. Because also the other person's struggling with something too. Like we're all struggling with something. We're all learning to be ourselves. And in the like we need to fall in order to get back up and learn, and it's just beautiful. We just need to accept it and go with it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Oh my gosh, I relate so much to the part of your story, especially where there's just so many different aspects to Gemini.
Mhm.
Like there are so many different colors. I often have felt that way with myself in grappling with like, how do I make space for all these different interests or all these different things that I feel like I need, you know, like this part of me hasn't, been out in a while, or this part of me like
Mhm.
needs to connect with this kind of person or this kind of activity. And it's just like, yeah, it's really something to feel
Yeah.
so vast in a way.
Especially when your moon is in Gemini, like that's the emotion. It's just also your it's your security. So that must, well, my husband has the same placement, but I think he's just shut it out. It's too much. He just shuts it out. And I'm like, how is your emotion? He's like, I'm good. But I think he just, it's too much for him also. Like he just like, yeah, like it's a lot of to navigate through, and also the, I think the guilt come in because you're like, oh, I haven't talked with that person. I really wanted to connect with that person. I really wanted to finish this book. I cannot finish this book. So then the guilt come in, and it's a whole different story. Then you start to like hit yourself on the head a little bit, and you need to learn to not do that because it's not healthy.
Hmm. There's something very seasonable about Gemini energy, I find. Something, it's kind of like, oh, like all of a sudden I'm like, picking up the guitar and playing like for a while, for like a month, and then oh, then it disappears for like a
And
year. And
then
then it's
yeah,
it's very much like
yeah. Yeah, you need to have a lot of money to be a Gemini, because if not, your needs are not satisfied. Because oh, like one day I want to just learn how to snowboard. Let's buy all the equipment. Let's do it. And like 2 months after it's done. So yeah, you need to have a lot of money.
oh my God. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel you on that. So yeah, let's bring it into the lovers. You said that you
Mhm.
know a little bit about the lovers. And so I'll share like just a little bit about, well, I love the deck that I have. I really like the depiction here. I don't know if you'll see it very well, but it's basically like two people getting married, and then we see like the inner children reversed, touching
Mhm.
hands as well. Um, yeah, so
Wow.
there's really like this, like you said, a duality in the Gemini
Mhm.
energy. There is this like, masculine and feminine aspect. And then I love having that the children are in there as well. There is that kind of like, childlike essence to it in there. And the lovers, from the teachings that I've received of the lovers, it really is this aspect of like a mirror. Um, it really brings in this part where like everything that and everyone, every activity, just everything that we're interacting with or that we see on the outside of us is really a reflection of what's inside of us. Like all the beauty that we see, it's like we can't see it without actually having that within us, like we'll see someone like, smile, and it's just like, yeah, it's a reflection of like the happiness like within us too, there really is this mirror aspect. And also like relationally, right, it's a very very relational sign. And so whenever we're like looking outside and we're like, oh, like I don't know, like maybe there's some kind of conflict, or maybe we're perceiving something that's like outside of us, but when really it's like, oh well, like how am I like contributing to this, or like is this really true also? Because oftentimes like we'll have this sort of um perspective within us, like whatever story or filter that we're running, will like see the world through that lens as well. And so it's like, if I'm feeling like, like the frustration within me, and then someone like responds to me and it sounds like they're frustrated but they're not, and I'm just like, why are you so and then it's like, actually I'm the one that's frustrated,
Yeah.
so there's really this like interesting kind of yeah, feedback, this interesting kind of like communication with within and without, that has a very mirroring effect. So I don't know if you like perceive that as well.
Yeah. Oh my God. Totally. Totally. I like I hate it. I hate it, but I love it at the same time. It's duality again. But I did my like a vision board every well my sun return is soon as May 30th. So my birthday is May 30th. And every year I make my a vision board. And also depending on like I also do my solar return and your solar return is kind of like the vibe of your year. So of course I'm going to do that. And in this last solar return, I printed the card of the lovers, and I wanted really to connect with that card and bring that medicine inside. So actually, I do relate to that a lot. And it was I got served a little bit too
Yeah.
much at moments, but like careful what you put out there, what you because it's like it just taught me the medicine all this year. Really, it was about like my husband would literally he's me, like everything that like I could just cut his head off because he's pissing me off too much. I reflect and I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing the exact same thing, and I hate that about myself. I need to work on that.
Hmm.
I need to bring compassion, love, and it was just that. And then I got shivers when you showed me the card because all my life, I kind of knew I was going to have children, but I kind of didn't want to in a way because Gemini is like you add like children in the life of Gemini, it's like it's too much. It's like there's already so much going on, and then how can you put your life because all mom's gonna know like how can you put your life on pause like for a period of time to have children? And I kind of always knew I was going to have children, and it's a boy and a girl. And so also like, and
Yes.
it happened very fast. Like I had two kids in 2 years, and it was I have my oldest, my son, I am is a boy, and then I had my daughter Yanja, which is like again the duality, and I just like it's just crazy. It's just amazing how it just brought me because they are also me. So all their behavior that they have that is triggering me. It's like it's a reflection of myself. And why is it triggering me? Why is it triggering me that my son is losing it right now? He's crying. He's overwhelmed because I am overwhelmed, you know. And I have to ground myself. It's so amazing, but at the same time, it's like I hate it. So yeah, like I love it. I hate it. The duality, the lovers, and I love to be in love. I love to explore myself. I love to work on myself. And of course, you can only do that throughout relationships. So yeah, interesting.
Definitely. Oh my God, I relate so much being a mother as well. It is. It's like such a. I mean, I always found that children, it's such a. It is probably one of the most profound spiritual practices you can have if you approach it that way. If you're open to it, to them being your teachers, and yes, exactly. It's so much like when you're getting triggered, instead of externalizing it and seeing it as something
Mhm,
outside of yourself, like to come back in and be like, okay, like, yeah, exactly. They're overwhelmed, like I'm overwhelmed. Like, if I'm triggered by it, it's because I'm also feeling something in there or I'm not liking that about myself. So it
mhm,
is such a humbling, very, very humbling experience, and very important to come back to that. It's like you have to it's like an opportunity to kind of like access that parent within,
mhm.
because
Yeah.
it's like that little child within you too that is like just hurt or frustrated or whatever it is, and then like you can see yourself getting triggered and then like frustrated with yourself, and then instead being like, oh, okay, like, okay, how can I hold space for that?
Mhm,
How can I like be the parent in this situation to myself as well as to my child.
mhm.
It's yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. My husband keeps saying like, "You're the adult, Jen." But I think I feel like a kid right now, you know? Like I need space to like also cry. I need space to also like yell in my pillow. Like sometimes it's not even in the pillow, sometimes it's just out there and like and I think it's beautiful because all the emotions like are welcome, you know. Even like we are in a time where like the things could be more like friction with this past full moon that just passed in Sagittarius was super intense, and I did feel some like even aggressivity, and it's just how to learn how to navigate through that, and then also like your kids help you to do that. Like you need to do it. You need to set the example, like you say, but you also don't forget your emotion yourself, and you need. It's like it's like maybe before I wasn't giving that much of attention of how I would do the things, but now I kind of like it. I need to reflect. I need to take this time to, okay, how am I gonna, like I had a success of aggressivity, or like I'm mad. How can I, like take this out like in a healthy way to also like set the example for my kids. So yeah, it's just teachings over teachings, and reflecting, and that is something that motherhood bring you. Like you said, it's like, yeah, like how can you listen to your inner child and satisfy your inner child? As Gemini, like, sometimes it does take over you, and how can you like bring it to the next level also and be the parents? So it's interesting that.
Hmm. Interesting ride for sure.
Oh yes.
Oh man, and I'd like to bring a little bit of the magician energy in here,
Hmm.
um, because yeah, again, it's ruled by Mercury, and yeah, my first three signs are ruled by Mercury. I have a Virgo sun and rising, so yeah, Mercury is very, very present in my chart. So Mercury energy related to the magician card. The magician is really it's the first card, it's like first we have the fool, which is 0, and then magician is actually card number 1. And the magician is so much like a channel of creativity. It's just like an open channel, and there's just so much that can come through. And I really see it so related to Gemini, because it's like it's the kind of creativity that is just like free and open, and it's not like necessarily needs to be for like a purpose, or it's not like I'm gonna develop this like for so I can make this work for like selling this or whatever. It's not like about that. It's really just about feeling that like full creativity, and like spontaneously just like enjoying that flow. And it's just like you're not a painter, but like you just feel like doing something with paint, and you're not like a singer, but you just feel like singing along to this. It's very like lighthearted in that way. It's not like to produce or to like make things or to like master things necessarily. It's just to experience the creativity like flowing out of you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I also have my Virgo rising, so I feel the Mercury vibe pretty quite intense.
So you get it.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Like I've just done so many things in my life, like I feel like I have many lives in one life, and went from, being like doing eyelashes extensions to sing, like you said, to paint, to be a yoga teacher, to do astrology. And astrology is I think it's like it's the one thing that I really went down to it, and studied like until until now, and I'll keep doing it. But yeah, like it's so spontaneous, and so like I'll have a lot of people saying like you're doing so many things, like you're so interested, and I'm interested in everything. So yeah, and it's about not hitting yourself on the head if you don't finish something. You just try it, you like it the time it lasts, and then you move on to the next. And yeah, it's so light. Gemini is so light, and it's so bubbly. It's so like, so I was just like, it's like kind of a permission slip to like, yeah, just do it. If you want to do it, like you have the money to do it, whatever. And then do something else. And yeah, I really resonate with that. I like that. Hmm.
Mm. Yeah, it's also coming through. There's something about the newness and like the
Yeah.
novelty of trying new things and going to new places and meeting new
Hmm.
people. Um it sounds a little like it could appear like a little shallow because it's just kind of, dipping your
Mm-hmm.
fingers in a little bit of everything, but there's something so rich about that. Like it's so rich to get different perspectives from different people and to be somewhere, in a culture that you're not used to, or, to listen to a kind of music that you're not, like there's something
Yeah.
like really actually super nourishing about that. And something that I found that I learned about this energy is that also I have explored so many different modalities, from like, massage therapy to sound healing to tarot to like dance, somatic practices, like so yoga, like just so many different things. And I used to like be like, what am I doing? I'm just like
Mm-hmm.
jumping from one thing. Like a deeper part of me knew, that I was just following these callings and there was like a reason. But like on this, from the external, it's just like dude, like you're just going like in every single direction. Like, what are you doing? You're all over the place. But then eventually I got to a point where I was just like, oh yeah, I see the connection between all these different things, and I
Yeah.
see how deep my understanding is about like the mind body. Like I understand it through so many different lenses now, and I understand it on so many different layers, that it actually deepened a lot more than probably it would have if I just stayed with one perspective or just like one thing. So there's that aspect to it. Like I remember way back in one of my first yoga teacher trainings, they were explaining how it was really important to stay with one practice because you won't be able to get deep if you don't just stay in that one thing. And like I just didn't listen. I just couldn't. It just wasn't in my nature. Um, and I love going deep. Don't get me wrong. Like my my Venus is in Scorpio. I really like love the deepness of relationships. Um, but there is something about that path that showed me like, oh wow, it's not like just shallow, and it's not just like, you know what I mean?
No.
It really turned out to be something that just really, really
Mm-hmm.
deepened from getting all those different perspectives and those different modalities. So I really do feel like,
Yep.
yeah, all these different experiences really color us and really bring us something like meaningful.
Yeah, it's really rich. It's really, really rich. And it does that, like, at first, maybe you don't understand it while you're doing all those things, but it does, like, make sense. Like, I had a business when I was 22 years old. I had a beauty salon, and I learned how to manage a business. And now that is helping me today. Oh no, the connection is unstable. You can still hear me good?
I got you back. It cut out a little minute, but then I got you back now.
Yeah, okay. Okay, good. So yeah, like it does, like you add the pieces together and it's like a puzzle. Like in the end, it does make sense and it does serve you. So you sometimes you just need to be patient and welcome whatever is there and understand that like for now maybe it doesn't make sense, but you just do it and then later it'll come together and it will serve you for sure. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, like all these skills that we get, it's not for nothing just because it wasn't exactly that thing. It's like it
Mhm.
serves in the rest of our life. Like I'm sure, running your business is serving you in motherhood somehow with some kind of time management. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's
Yep.
like, even if that's not the thing or the way, it still is information, and it still is a skill, and it still is transferable. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I feel like it's a real testament to the Gemini energy too, of that like curiosity and just following that curiosity, just for the fun of, we're alive. Like I think it really just reminds us how much play is important. Like we just downplay it a lot, fun and play. It's like, oh, that's like extra. But it's like
Yeah.
actually that's what makes us feel alive. That's what gives us vitality. That's what, keeps us like, yeah, just buzzing
Yeah.
and, yeah, connected.
Yeah. And it does, you kind of feel like you're going against a little bit like nature, but it's not nature, it's really programmings, because people have been programming us like in our like in western countries, people have been programming us to like focus on one thing. Like, you want to be a doctor, well, you study, medicine, and you're going to be a doctor. It's like, don't get caught up with your passions and your other skills. Like, you just focus on one thing. And I hate that. Like, it's not true. It's not how it's supposed to be. Like, that's matrix things. And you can be interested in multiple things and allow yourself to explore. Like, allow yourself to be you, and like, let your inner child lead the way. Also, you can play, if you want to make your work like you're like playful, like, do it. And you need to do it. Like, you need to have fun working. And it's like, it's about exploring that, and like, kind of like changing that programming, and accepting that, okay, well, it's never too late. Like, I can still change also. Like, it's not because you have been a lawyer, or you have been whatever for the past like 12 years, that you need to do that for the rest of your life. You can literally start your life over. I started my life over maybe like 10 times, and I'm gonna be 33 years old. So, like, accept that. It's good. It's fine. You'll make it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. I knew this was
That
gonna be
was so
super fun.
fun.
Um, and yeah, I just wanted to, before we wrap up, bring it back to the lovers and Gemini, and just kind of like that deep medicine of this season. And I really loved your share on it, where you said that one of the biggest lessons and one of the biggest medicines you got was essentially just like that deep love for
Mhm.
yourself. And I feel like the Lovers card really shows us as well. It is a mirror, and it brings us all, the more, I guess, the parts that are easier to love, but also the parts that are harder to love, or like a bunch of conditioning, like you said, like you should be like this, or you should be doing things like that, like,
Mhm.
um, and just kind of like looking at those shoulds and looking at those places that you're triggered, and like seeing how situations arise that come and show us those things, whether it's through, our partners or our children or our friends, or, even like our clients, or oh, especially our clients. Little tangent, but one thing that I really notice, and I'm sure you've noticed it as well, but whenever I've heard this too. I think it was my one of my first tarot teachers who told me, like, any session that you give is a session for you too.
Yeah, makes sense. Total.
That that stuck with me, and I'm telling you, it's really something. It's like, even though,
Mhm.
we all have our different situations, and we're going through it in different ways, the messages that come through in my sessions or in my rituals or whatever, it's always been like, yeah, for you too, it's like, I'll be like talking
Always.
about the archetypes, and I'll just be like, oh yeah, and then okay, and then this medicine, and it's like, like, I'm saying this to you, but it's like, it's also for me. Like, I also need to hear this, I also need to take this medicine, and I
Oh
know.
my God, that's so true. That's so true. And then, like, just a bracket. Like, this whole time I had this like man doing like the limpia, the cleaning, and then I see still in the back, and I'm like, ah, get away. But I'm like, it's a duality. Like, it's my duality. He's like, he was meant to do this podcast with us. It's so funny. When I'm like, get out of the camera. Oh my God, this is so funny. Yeah. Yeah. Duality, and like, yeah, like, just, learn to love it, because it's there. Like, it's either you hate it, you love it. But at the end of the day, if you love it and you have a lot of compassion, it's just going to be more easy. Yeah,
Mhm.
totally. And yes, like, for when I do a reading to someone, I feel that all the time. Like, it's like, also, I think, I don't know, like, we call each other in. So, like, if I have a client that, like, is called to have a session with me, it's her medicine and it's my medicine. So I think, like, it's because there's always a similarity. Like, oh my God, I'm going through this too. Like, maybe it's sometimes at different levels, but it's a good reminder. And there's always space for um like, perfection, to work on the things, also the lesson, the teachings more. So it's a good, like, I always reflect, of course, like, I want to, like, detach myself, from the energy, but it always, I allow myself to be like, okay, what, like, stayed with me in that reading. And then, like, okay, thank you, like, we move on. But, like, yeah, it is it, and I think that's a Gemini thing also, because some people would not see that. But because we like to see all the angles, I think we are interested and we can relate to that, you know? I like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're super curious about other people. A Gemini energy
Yeah,
is super, super curious about other
totally.
people's stories, other people's
Yep.
everything. It's just very, very interesting.
Yeah. It's so funny. When I was a kid, like I was like 13 years old, I was you know those magazine that you would receive? I would receive the magazine, the astronomy magazine, so the magazine of the planet at that time. And I would receive it was like the cool or like 17. It's like the cool is like the 17 or like the, you know, the stars. And so I was like, I had literally both the stars, the both type of stars coming in, and it's just like so much fun looking back and like, you know, reflecting on that. Like I was curious about one type of star and the other type of stars and how all of this correlates together, and I didn't even know about it. Imagine. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so interesting.
I think this guy wants to clean his face out. He's like, okay, she like I'm in his face really.
All right, well, that's our cue anyway. We'll
Yeah.
be wrapping up now, but I just wanted to thank you so much for
Thank
meeting with
you.
me, for having this conversation. Like, as soon as I thought about Gemini season, I was like, okay, I'm obviously reaching out to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, yeah, if anyone would like to get a natal chart reading from Jennifer, are you offering them?
Yeah, I'm offering like all the type of bird chart you can even imagine. I do solar return as I spoke about, and I do like I perfection my readings on relationships. So also like, you know, kind of a Gemini lover vibe. So if you want to know learn more about your relationship, I do have this reading that I offer, and I just did a class of relationships. So if you're like an astrologer, beginner astrologer, who want to learn how to do composite charts or synastry, I offer that. It's in French, but maybe English will come soon. So yeah, I offer both English and French my readings also. So it's on Instagram. I think you're gonna put the link, but
Yeah.
I'm Jennifer Astrology, and you can find a link to my training, and you can find my link. Also, I wrote a book. You can find my link to my book in my bio.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
No, thank you so much. It was so fun.
And wishing you all a beautiful Gemini season. Yeah. Feed that curious child within and make some space for some play. Yeah.
And love.
And love, of course. Always love. Bye for now.